Hey, everybody. Welcome to Monday Night Live in Lexington, you guys. My name is Kathryn Kaufman, and I'm a psychic medium here in Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome to my every Monday night show at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is Monday Night Live in Lexington. Tonight we're doing Ancestor Ritual. If you've ever wondered what that is, why do we even discuss that? This goes all over the world, you guys. Ancestor Rituals do. So let me do a quick shout out to people. Hey to Samantha Taylor, hope you're healing good. Sending lots of loving, healing energy to you, Samantha. Hey to Tom Driver. Special shout out to Danny Adams. I hope you're back home in the warm down in Savannah. Hey to Yasmin Jadoon and Eddie Finley. Thanks for joining me tonight. Trina, J. Ross Whitaker, and Hassan Shah. And thanks for tuning in. So let's say hey to Creepy Baby Jane on Instagram. Thank you for joining me tonight. So Instagram is over here. My two pages of Facebook are here. If you are tuned in to my professional page, which is Kathryn Kaufman Psychic Medium TV, you won't be able to join the chat unless you come over to my personal page here. And I did leave the link in the comments or description at the top. So if you just want to watch on the professional page, but if you want to join in on the chat or you have a question, hit that link and come on over to the personal page here. Hey to Amita Madden, Kayla, and Greta Hanshu. Thanks for joining me tonight. So does anybody have any ideas about what I mean by ancestor rituals? Any ideas at all? Hey to Kelly Simpson and Donna Gates Rickett. Thanks for joining me tonight. And let's see, over here on Instagram, one for only one. Thanks for joining me. And Q Hippie Boy, thanks for joining me too. I will try to check in with Instagram every now and then and see if you guys have any questions in the comments. And I do try to get to all the questions on Facebook. Hey to Corey Southworth, way up there north. What's the weather like, girl, up there? How cold is it? And hey to Pamela and Jenny and Mitchell. Yes, Samantha, you're right. These are rituals passed down for many generations, but it's so much more than that, and it's so much richer than that, and that's what we're going to go into. But before we get any further into tonight, I want to let you know that for those of you that want to connect with your ancestors, and it's a big thing to do DNA testing right now to find out, you know, where your DNA has come from. Because some of the stories that are passed down through your lineage and through your family may not be correct. I know that's true for myself. I've had two brothers that have done DNA testing, and we have had stories throughout our lineage about how part of our family was Native American, Cherokee this, and stories from that. And then once they did the DNA testing, there's absolutely no Native American blood whatsoever, genetic material that showed up in the DNA testing. So, you know, why did those stories turn up? I have no idea. They're passed down in our lineage, but it's really good to know exactly where your DNA comes from, and I'm going to go into why. And it goes all back to a new scientific avenue that we've all investigated right now. It's called epigenetics, and we're going to get into that. Hey to Tony and Deborah and Scott and Heather and Linda Karen Cloud. If you guys really would like to shout out from wherever you are in the United States, I would love to see where everybody's from. Hey to Kathryn Forrester and Krista Webb Robinson. Okay, and Samantha says, many of the women on her mother's side have psychic abilities. And that's another thing that we get into with epigenetics, is that there's a lot of things that are passed down to you through your DNA. And we'll get to that, but I want to go over, shout out to Greta in London, Kentucky. I want to go over what exactly ancestor rituals are, because they're a big part of worship across the world of all different creeds, religions, and societies. Let me check on Instagram just to make sure that we don't have any comments or questions. Shout out to Maine and What for Only One. And Matt Cummings. Let's see. Wow, you have a really lovely name. Oh my goodness. Okay, thank you. Okay. So ancestor rituals have been instrumental in Mayan culture, Celtic society, Aboriginal society, Indigenous Americans, ancient Greece, African tribal, Tibetan, and Vedic traditions, especially big in China, Japan, and Korea. And what it is, it's ancestor veneration. And it happens around the world, and this veneration is around exhibiting love and respect for your ancestors or for people who've passed on before you. Now, why are we doing this? You know, what is the fascination with venerating these ancestors? Well, it's been thought from the beginning of time that the dead have the ability to influence the fortunes of the living. Now, this is especially a heavy belief in China because it's a patriarchal society. So ancestors become sort of godly-like beings who keep their individual identities. And so what we're finding in history is that in China, Japan, and Korea, there's one of two things that you can go and look up and read about. And so there's ancestor shrines, and they can be in public places or they can be at home, more like personal shrines, personal ancestor shrines. So let's go over the public shrines first. Hey to Linda McCauley and Shelley Holdenbrock and Kelly Santos. Thanks for joining me. And Krista Webb. Let me check over here. Okay, we're good on comments over here. Hey to Nikki Burnett. Thank you very much. Okay, so public ancestor shrines in China, Japan, and Korea. What are they? These are places that hold special veneration for it's the lineage of society that's passed on. And so many Chinese lineage temples are available to the general public to use as a place of worship. The tablets that are arranged in these temples are arranged by seniority of the lineage. So the house of so-and-so, and then the house of another person's lineage. And they're arranged by importance of how they stood in society. These temples are available for people to go and worship or venerate their ancestors if they're a part of that lineage. But they're also used for collective festivals or rituals like weddings and funerals. So it's open to society to use these ancestor shrines for what they want at the time. But more importantly, the personal ancestor shrines are more what the normal people use in China, Japan, and Korea. So when a person passes on in these societies, the family receives what we call a spirit tablet. And this spirit tablet is about this high. And what it has is it's engraved with the person's name on the tablet, and it can be placed in a household shrine. And in order to venerate that person's memory or that person's spirit, you would burn incense in front of that tablet, or place fruits in front of the tablet, or tea, pastries, rice is placed in front of the tablet. And so when I started doing all the research for this, I was thinking, okay, so these spirit tablets sort of resemble, if you look at them, kind of miniature headstones. So what I was thinking is, because we are in the United States and we have so much more room, is that why we developed large headstones with the name and the years and stuff on it? Tell me what you think about that, because they're so similar. It's engraving of the name on a tablet. And this is throughout the world, you know, that we all, as humans, we all do this. And so I'm thinking, because we, you know, have more room in the United States, maybe we can make a bigger honorary to it by putting a huge headstone out. In Japan and China, the space is very, very limited. And so a spirit tablet, or a small tablet, to me makes more sense. So let me check and make sure that we don't have any questions. Shout out to Gary, Danny, Dugan Marshall, Olivia, Robin Carpenter, Mary Cummins, Autumn Law. Hey, a special shout out to Shay Smith, one of my favorite people in the world. Hope you're doing okay. Hey to Sheila, April, Rebecca, and let's see, Samantha has another comment. What about past life ancestor rituals? She has always been drawn to Egyptian rituals and Scottish as well. Samantha, that's where we get into the importance of epigenetics. So just wait till a little bit later and you can learn about that. So I was kind of seeing the interest or the balance between spirit tablets and then the memorials or the headstones that we have in everyday society now, which I thought was kind of analogous to each other. So I'm wondering what you think about that. Do you think that the spirit tablets are sort of like the headstones are our version of the spirit tablets, but on a little bit larger scale? The other thing is the ancestor shrines, the public ancestor shrines in like Japan and China and Korea, the temples were also used for funerals. So now, as you know, in the United States, a lot of churches have their graveyards next to the church. So I'm thinking, is that kind of analogous to their ancestor shrines, with the tablets being in the shrine and also conducting funerals in the shrine? So are our churches and graveyards kind of mimicking or similar to that? What do you think? So put in the comments if you have an interest or a comment on that. Now, I wanted to look at a couple of different things as we talk about this. And one of the things was the ancestor veneration in Norway. And this was awesome to read about, because in Norway they have what's called grave candles or death lanterns. And this is a veneration that's done in Norway. So in one study, 51% of the people still light these grave candles or these death lanterns on the graves. And it is a type of veneration to the people that have passed on. It is a tribute to the light life of the person, which I thought was so interesting. And it's such a it just really hit my heart. Okay, so anyway, let me just, I got too tore up and I lost my place here, because that veneration from Norway was so sweet, to light those candles in the light of a life. So the dead were thought in Norway to convey blessings specifically on the land. And it was more in fertility of the land. So the body of the deceased would be put in the land to nourish the land and to convey its blessing upon the land. So they had customs to sit on the burial mound and to try to receive inspiration or clarification of petitions to the dead that were made. So if you had a problem, if you had a concern, if you needed a solution to something, the thought was to go and venerate your ancestors and to sit on the burial mound and do a meditation to try to connect and receive information from those loved ones that have passed on. And so this was a huge custom in Norway. So cemeteries in Norway were placed at the edge of a farmstead or the edge of a village, so that the inhabitants could lay claim to the land, because they could say, you know, my ancestors have been here. My ancestors built this village. My ancestors established this place. And so it was kind of a claim or a belonging to the land. And that belonging to the land, that love for the land, along with the ancestor veneration and the ancestors' blessing, produced this fertility of the land and the good luck that they needed. And so the ancestors were justified in laying claim to the land that their ancestors were buried on. You know, look, my ancestors there, buried there next to our village. They were also, now this was something very, very interesting. I'm checking for questions. Okay, let me make sure there's no more questions here. So Trina says, yes, I do believe spirit tablets are like headstones. Thank you, because I was thinking the same thing when I read all this. I was like, that just seems too similar. A modern day version, maybe, Samantha says. Hey to Gary Wayne and Doreen, thanks for joining me tonight, and Kimberly McCarty and Rhonda Taylor. So this is another interesting fact about Norwegian culture that I found really cool. So not only were they required to venerate their ancestors that had passed on, but they were also required to venerate the land spirits and the elves. And it seems that the land spirits and the elves occupy the same space as the dead. And so you can't venerate one without venerating the other, because elves and land spirits could certainly cause bad luck to happen. So it does no good to venerate your ancestors and not placate the land spirits or the elves at the same time. So they had to make sacrifices to the land spirits and the elves for health and wealth for the living, which, and this goes into a whole nother ball game right here of the sacrifices that they had to do for that. So let me see here. I want to get my notes straight, because I was getting excited while I wrote all this stuff down, and I want to make sure I get everything straight for this. Okay, this is not Ancestor Ritual, but in doing this research, I found it really fascinating, and I wanted to present it to you because not a lot of people know about it unless you watch a lot of History Channel or the Learning Channel which I used to. But in France, ancestor veneration kind of fell by the wayside before 1700 because the church, well, they ran out of space for one. They didn't have enough space to do ancestor veneration. A lot of the families were trusting the churches to take care of the dead and to, you know, properly dispose of the remains and make sure that they were venerated. But a lot of the churches were very corrupt in 1700 in France, and they buried people in the church walls and just anywhere that they could stick a corpse, basically. So what happened was the stench and the smell of so many rotting remains got too bad, and they were so close to where the food stalls were in the middle of the city where food was being prepared and meat was being prepared, and the smell just got so bad and things got so awful with sanitation that they had to prohibit any further burials within the city walls in 1786. And in 1786, that was when they instituted the remains to be removed and put into special catacombs beneath the city. And that was when the catacombs started. And so they did the best that they could with the remains. The remains that are there, you can look these up on YouTube. There's all kinds of videos that will show you about the catacombs under Paris. It's just, I can't tell you, it must be millions of bones down there. But these poor people are all anonymous now because proper veneration wasn't made with the remains that were entrusted to the church. So let's see you on Instagram. Hey to Cassica Others and Minivites. Thanks for joining me tonight. If you guys have any questions on Instagram, I will try to look over here and address them throughout the broadcast. But and so I'm sorry if I can't see you really well, but it's very small on that screen there. So hey to Kimberly and Rhonda and Jane. Hey to Jane. So Shay has a comment. All of us, let's see, all of our U.S. customs around the subject are just variation of ancient things from other countries because we all came from somewhere else. I agree with you, absolutely. And Sherry, hey to Sherry McCartney, nice to see you tonight. And Samantha has a comment, the catacombs. Yes, those are the catacombs under Paris. So let's get on and find about epigenetics here, because that's the next step, is epigenetics. Now, what is that? Does anybody know what epigenetics is? Let me just pause a second to see if anybody can chime in and let me know what they think or if they've heard about epigenetics. Hey to Annis Conley Hanshoe, thanks for joining me tonight. So epigenetics, ancestors in your DNA. Why should we even venerate these spirits? Well, there's a very good reason. Ancestors in your DNA. It seems that in 1970, they started research on how your ancestors' DNA affects your life today. So this is a new line of study. 1970 is relatively new. It's a new line of study or research that's developed, and specifically these are DNA markers, okay, using, okay, I'm going to have to turn my notes, it's a methyl group that's attached to the basic DNA chain. And so what happens is when a person experiences a traumatic event, like let's say a famine or a massacre, that transfers as a methyl group to the DNA. Now, I know this kind of sounds foreign, but I'm going to give you an example of this so that you can kind of understand it a little bit better. But what it does is it transfers to the neurons, the DNA neurons, and it changes the brains of the offspring. So let me just give you an example of this. So in 1944 to 1945 in the Netherlands, 1/4 of the population experienced a winter where they actually starved for 3 months. Now, the women who were pregnant during that time produced offspring that were smaller, and they were the offspring was more prone to diabetes and schizophrenia. Now, this offspring, since they were more prone to these debilitating diseases, they also transferred those things to their offspring. So you see this as being marked on the grandparents, but also occurring in the grandchildren. Now, to occur in the grandchildren, there has to be a signal trigger to develop the manifestation. So what we're looking at is stress of the grandparents produces this marker that's attached to the DNA, is transferred to the grandchildren. And then in the grandchildren, there has to be some kind of stress or signaling. Like, let's say, you know, you're a grandchild of somebody who was prone to depression because of the fact that they were in a massacre during their life. But in the grandchild's life, it experienced, let's say, loss of a job or a divorce, then that would produce that negative signal that was needed to activate that genetic marker. So, you know, we can be susceptible to the DNA and the experiences of our grandparents, but the reverse is also possible. Let's say the grandparents experienced a wonderful life, or they had a very positive life, and those genetic markers can be transferred as well, but they also have to have signals and triggers too. It's kind of complicated, but and there are shows on TV that go into, you know, why humans fear the dark, and that's a genetic marker as well. In a more widely based range, we fear the dark because our ancestors found that there were so many dangers that were inherent in darkness. You know, a lot of predators come out in darkness: wolves, tigers, lions, that type of thing. So predatory behavior and a lot of other things made us inherently afraid of the dark. And there's so many shows that you can watch on this. But this type of research is called epigenetics, and you really should try to maybe study a little bit of it, and then maybe you can understand a little bit of some of the fears that you have, some of the problems you may be facing could be kind of traced back to maybe an ancestral lineage. But I just think that it is really fascinating. So the DNA changes the brains of the offspring, and it does require a signal trigger to develop the manifestation that's being passed down. So hey to Missy Ferguson, Annis Conley, let's see if we have any other questions. Miranda, Shannon, Paige Denise, hey girl, Miranda, let's see, Kim Asher, hey to you. Yes, Samantha, there's a lot of shows on the Learning Channel about the fearfulness of the dark being like a DNA transferred down to us. And hey to Trina Villanueva. You know, why did ancient man always build a fire and gather around the fire? Because they were inherently afraid of the dark. And this was, you know, passed down genetically because people knew that there were dangers in the dark. So there's a lot of fears in the dark about that. Yes, Sheila, it is very, very interesting. So now let's go over how to connect with your ancestors. Now this was something that was put out by, and let's see, hey to Betsy Conklin. Thanks for joining us tonight. And a hey to Ayesa Kristeva. Nice to see you. Please put on the comments where you're from. I'm very interested to know where everybody's from tonight. So how to connect with your ancestors. And this was put out by Gaia TV. So these are things that are put out by Gaia. One of the ways to connect with your ancestors is through daily prayer. The other is meditation. Creation of art. Gaia says creation of art, creation of food, creation of music, like dedicating art or dedicating music, or maybe even creating an ancestral food that they would have enjoyed in olden times is a way to venerate or connect with your ancestors. You can also make your own ancestor shrine if you want to, by using a candle and a picture. If you have a picture of your ancestors, you can use that. One of their mementos, let's say you have a watch or a picture and something personal of your grandparents, you can put that together to make an ancestor shrine. A book that they may have passed down or read, you can put together for your ancestor shrine. And then, so what you want to do is light that candle, look at that picture, do that meditation, do that daily prayer, and try to receive some kind of message or just convey to them the need for help, the need for maybe them using their energy to bless your everyday life, to improve your everyday life. So those are all options. And I think that ancestor veneration is a really good thing to practice, because I feel like that these people are still around and their energy is still here to help us. And what better way to try and connect with them through an ancestor ritual? Now, here's the key. Here's the whole reason I put this together tonight. I do have an ancestor ritual. Any of you that want this ritual, all you have to do is private message me. I will copy and paste and send it to you. This was developed for one of my clients, and she wanted to connect with her ancestors that she did not know. So this is specifically designed as kind of a time travel, and it's era-based, which means that you're going to use each era of time, be it Victorian era, Renaissance era, or even farther back, and you're going to just connect with that era and see who comes forward in that in this ritual that I've developed. It works really, really well. There are some shocking results that have been backed up by genetic testing, which I've been very impressed by. So if any of you want this ritual, all you have to do is private message me on Facebook, and I would be glad to copy and paste and just send that ritual to you. So let me make sure there's no more questions. Hey to John Philip Young, and let's see, Leanne Bird, Miranda, and Melissa Kemp, and Joshua. Hey Joshua, how are you? So let me check our time. We've gone over, but this was a good topic tonight. So let me, I'm going to get to, I want to do some announcements for next month. But let's ask, what's for dinner, Dave? I'm almost scared out.
What's for dinner?
What's for dinner?
I took a lot of things that were left over in the refrigerator and put them together and made a casserole. I used jasmine rice, peas, leftover roasted chicken that Kathryn had made earlier in the week. I sauteed a hodgepodge of mushrooms and onion together in butter. Deglazed the pan with, I didn't want to waste the wine I was drinking, so I used gin.
That was, oh, it smelled so good in here.
And I threw a provincial, it was called a provincial French herb combo together.
Oh, wow.
And there's rosemary, thyme, lavender kind of thing going on, some cream of chicken soup.
I can't wait to taste
Mixed it all together, put it in the oven, baked it. It was pretty much.
When are we eating?
Oh, when you get done, it's
okay. Well, I'm gonna get off of here because it's so good.
All right.
All right. Thank you, dear.
You're welcome.
Thanks, guys, for watching. I'm so glad you tuned in. This brings me to next week's topic. Next week's topic is Appalachian funerary rituals. We're going to look at them. And I want to hear from you guys on your experience with your funerary rituals. Is there anything interesting or different in your experience that you have to tell me about the rituals of your family? So we're going to go over that next Monday, is Appalachian funerary rituals. Now, I want to give you a shout out, let you know what's coming up for February. And that's why I have my heart lights here. February is Valentine's Day. I'm going to feature couples readings. Now, these are readings for two people that it lasts an hour and a half. And what it specifically looks at is what are the challenges between the relationship and how can both people come together and overcome those challenges. That's what the couples reading is for. So both people have to be present for the couples readings. But a lot of them have turned out really, really good, very beneficial. It's given a lot of couples a lot of insight as to how to go forward and make their relationships a success. And so the couples readings are featured for February. There are 130. It is an hour and a half, and both people have to attend to this session. And that option is on my website. I'm going to leave the link in the comments section. Another thing that's happening in February is I'm putting the ambassadors group together, and I'll probably post it on Valentine's Day. What that is, there are several people that ritually share my content on a regular basis, and I love those people. I feel like they're ambassadors of my work, and I want to put together a special Facebook group that has all these people in it, and I want to give them something special because I so appreciate what they do for me. So these people I'm going to put into a special Facebook group, and they're going to be privy to a special giveaway twice a year of some really premium stuff, like you know, a gift certificate to a restaurant for two. Really nice restaurant too. So if you want to be a part of the ambassadors group, private message me and then I will tell you what to do. But basically you just need to share 3 major posts per week of mine. That's easy. So I can't wait to get this started, but that's going to be coming on Valentine's Day. Thanks for the hearts and the kisses. Kiss back to you guys. And remember, if you want my version of the Ancestor Ritual and you want to use that, you want to find out, connect who your ritual, your ancestors are through this ritual, I'll be more than happy to send it to you. You just have to private message me. Let me make sure there's no other questions. Okay, no other questions. So I will see you guys next week. Oh my gosh, look at that.
If you can see it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really show up that way. I'll put some Greek yogurt on top of it.
Oh my gosh.
The almost glowing black thing on top.
Yeah.
It's not like a leech with a needle.
Okay, I gotta go. I gotta go. Kisses from Kentucky, and I will see you next Monday for Appalachian Funerary Rituals. Bye, guys.